Hello, this is Call My Bluff. We're dealing off the bottom of the pack. We have Frank Muir. Good evening.
My first guest is what an American might well describe as a mighty purty girl. From the new Avengers, Joanna Lumley. If you asked, you television viewers, who was the most famous Roman of them all, you probably say, I know, Claudius. And here is Claudius, the first time on this programme, or any programme of this nature. How nice to have on Derek Jacobi.
And 8 feet of rippling muscle, Patrick Campbell.
Good evening.
My first guest was Rudolph Valentino's first love. Fortunately, not in reality, otherwise she'd be in a wheelchair. But she was in the movie of that title. She is June Bolton. And my other guests are kind of better than Rudolph Valentino all over. It's only Richard Briers, though.
Let's try and get a word. Lo, where it comes. Balductum, or the scope for pronunciation of all sorts. Frank Muir and his team will define this word 3 different ways. 2 of them are false, 1 is true. The true one is the one that Patrick and co try to pick out. So you're on your own with this one, Frank.
Prithee, my brow is fevered. Prithee indicates its Tudor period, you see. Yes. And the dialogue indicated that I have a feverish chill. What to do? The steward says, mix him a balductum. They take hot milk, into which they drip wine, until it congeals. Pour it down my lord's throat, and thank you, my good and faithful sheriff. And it's a Tudor posset for cooling down little fevers. Or big fevers if you've got enough of it.
Have you finished?
Or tiny fevers if it's just a little chill.
Goes on.
Or you could have...
Yes? More costume drama, please, Frank. No, you won't do it. Derek Jacobi, your turn.
Well, a little before the Tudors, in days of old, when the Gauls were revolting, the Emperor Charlemagne had in his armoury an incredible weapon called a balductum. It was rather like a huge catapult. It was a vast horizontal bow with leather thongs which stretched across it, and on this was loaded the ammunition, huge boulders and stones. The thongs were then pulled back and released. And then this threw the boulders and the stones into the front ranks of the approaching revolting Gauls.
OK, so now, Joanna Lumley.
Yes, dear?
A balductum is a painting of low life, an artistic portrayal of the real beastliness, squalor, an absolute horror of life as it really is. And probably the most famous in the English series of balductar, I don't have to tell you that's the plural, is The Rake's Progress by Hogarth.
Fifth declension, I think, Patrick.
I think so.
Yes, please, Joanna.
You were saying that?
So that's what it is. It's a painting of low life.
Oh, yes. Well, it's a painting of low life, she says. It's a sort of bow, which chucks sort of rocks, I think I got, and kind of a medicine or nightcap if you're rather chill.
More
Patrick.
of a posset.
More of a posset, Frank.
Yes.
Yes, more of a posset, Patrick.
When you said you were sending for the steward, I thought you were at sea.
Oh, Patrick.
And you wanted a bucket or something. That turned me right off, whatever you're talking about. I couldn't listen after that. All this, that would be leading a ball out of a catapult, not throwing it. I think whatever you were talking about, these filthy pictures. Is it?
You're going to choose that, are
Yes.
you? The genre paintings of low life. Joanna, you said it too, Bluff. No. She was only teasing. Who gave the true definition? Here he comes. So that's really what it is. It's a sort of a posset, nightcap, or warming drink for those who feel ill. Cob key is the next one, and Patrick will define it for you.
Cob key is a very fine, almost see-through lawn. Not the kind of thing you mow, but a lawn handkerchief made of lawn. Like a see-through lawn. Which duchesses used to blow their noses, of course, in privacy. But was it not Edmund Burke who said, after a chilly reception from an Italian pastor in London, I received compliments as thin as a cob key.
No, it
What are you
wasn't.
laughing?
Richard Briers, he speaks.
Yes. Now, cob key, well, usually on board ship in the old days, if a sailor was insubordinate or drunk in charge of a forecastle or something, they'd give him a mild punishment. They wouldn't keel-haul him. They'd give him a milder punishment. This was done with a sort of a piece of wood called a cobbing board, and they'd lay him over the thing, near the deck, the rail, and bash him on the back side with it. And that was called a cob key, or cobbing board.
Right. June Bolton, next.
Cob key. Cob key is the Caribbean equivalent of French bouillabaisse, and that's a rich, fishy stew. However, in the French bouillabaisse, there's one ingredient which one does not normally find, and that is clams which have been separately smoked and very lightly dusted with red pepper. And that's cob key. It's very tasty.
Right. Yeah, very nice. Better than most of the things we get on this programme, I must say.
No drainage, as for that.
Fish stew, then, of that sort. It's whacking a sailor with a bit of wood, and it's lawn of a very fine sort. Frank?
We are in one voice on this. It is fatal, I know, but possibly. Now, hitting a lad with a piece of wood. Oh, Briers.
It's true, I swear.
Great Briers. Now, if you have a thin hanky that you can see through, the ladies would blow through it, wouldn't they? It wouldn't perform its function
Duchesses don't blow that hard.
of retention. It wouldn't retain. It wouldn't retain. One of the things is, the clam stew, possibly. No, we think it's Briers and his block of wood.
Whacking the sailor.
Whacking
He
the
said
sailor,
it, didn't he?
yes.
Yeah. True or bluff, Richard?
What should we whack?
Got it?
Every single point of his life.
Somehow it's always true when it's to do with sailors on this programme. Do you remember Abel Wackett? I shall never forget it. Jolly good word, that. Semit is another. Derek, your turn.
A semit is a variety of eel trap, traditionally used on the River Severn. It's composed of a long cylinder made of thin wire and closed at one end, and this is suspended in the water facing upstream, and it's suspended between two buoys, spelled B-U-O-Y-S, and the unsuspecting eel swims into it, finds that it can't reverse and is trapped. It's an eel trap.
What a clever idea,
Yeah,
isn't it?
clever.
Yes, I think
Could easily work
seen
quite
them
well.
action.
Joanna Lumley.
A semit, I blush to tell you, is an article of underclothing. I think even Patrick might have one on at this moment. It's a sort of unisex undervest.
That's Patrick.
And for ladies, it would be made out of fine cotton, and for gentlemen, something a little sturdier, perhaps a sort of hairy Welsh flannel.
Right, Frank, your turn.
See, hairless Irish flannel, I would suggest. Semmet, you are a simple sapper. Medieval times, mayhap. And you're faced with a castle wall. Now, what do you do about it? What you do is you advance, you see, under cover, and you knock a little hole in the wall, and you bung in some gunpowder. You've got plenty of time, it's probably the 100 Years' War, you see. You bung in some gunpowder, and you plug it up, and you shove a fuse in, and you light the fuse, and you retire smartly in a soldier-like fashion, and boom. It's a kind of petard. It's a semmet. It says.
Okay, so it's a vest, it's an eel trap, and it's a whole sapper's dig and filled with explosive for their purposes.
Yes.
So Richard Briers gets to choose now.
Yes. Well, yes. I don't think it's... Yes, I thought... Yes, I don't like this vest business. And, or that detonator, medieval detonator or whatever it is, charge. Well, Derek Jacobi is my favourite actor, so I'll go for the eel trap.
Eel trap is what Derek Jacobi said, yes. True or bluff now. Here it comes, here it comes.
That's another
Look, I wrote it
I
down.
really thought I'd got you that time.
He let me
Nothing to do with eel traps, that was all teasing. You get the true definition now.
No.
There it is.
Exactly. I'm sorry, I'm doing anything Not doing it all well.
Sort of vest that people wear on and off. Bracker is the next one. Richard Briers to define it.
Now, in the 18th century, you're not going to believe this, but it's absolutely true. The 18th century, when they imported goods from this country, from the Baltic states to this country, quite often the goods were a bit off, you see. So we got a bit fed up with that after a bit, so we employed brackers, that is, yes, brackers as inspectors, kind of food traffic wardens, and they checked it all there. I don't know what happened to them, but they obviously weren't very successful because they were dissolved shortly in the latter half of the 18th century. Brackers were inspectors, actually, inspected the grub. I can't say it better than that.
You can't now, June, it's your turn.
Bracker. The word bracker one would find in the workshop of a blacksmith. It's an iron or a wooden frame, and it looks a bit like an up-ended three-legged stool in which one would put the foot of a horse, a very fiery horse, in order that it may be shod with safety.
Which foot?
Any foot.
I see, just a
Which foot? What a silly question.
The fifth foot.
Yes.
The fifth foot.
Yes. the
Well, I think
fifth
they
foot.
probably put three in at once and not the one that they were actually doing. But it's no part of it, more than my position's worth. Whose turn is it next? Goodness me. Patrick.
A bracker is named after T.M. Brack, M.A., a senior wrangler at Cambridge in the early 1880s.
Good.
T.M. Brack, M.A., invented a kind of mathematical joke, apparently flawless logic, by which he could prove that 2 and 2 does not equal 4 or even 5, but 6.
He's
And
teaching now in our school.
Even worse news, please, if you allow me to speak. He could prove that naught was 1. That's what the bracker was called.
He's still teaching.
Made you laugh, did it? That sort of thing.
I roll on the floor.
I noticed you held back from telling us one. No, don't spoil us, Patrick. It's a mathematical joke. It's a frame which a smith put to use with horses and their hooves and that. And it's an inspector of goods to make sure that they were all right. Derek Jacobi.
Well, I've played Shakespeare with Dickie, you see, and I know that look.
I know what you mean.
No, and I didn't go for the off fish.
It's up to you,
and
Derek.
the inspector. No, the blacksmith stool thing. I thought they shod horses by putting the horse's hoof between their legs and doing it.
That's
no?
the old-fashioned way.
That's the old-fashioned way. But I do like the sound of the gentleman who can make 2 and 2 make 6, so I will say...
That one, Patrick. Now tell us, true or bluff? No such joke, no such joke. Who gave the true definition? Here it is. It's a sort of inspector who had a look at the goods before they were shipped. Did a very good job, no doubt. Theridion is the next one. Joanna Lumley.
Theridion is an ornamental trellis, and it's held upright by sculpted stone buttresses at the bottom so that it doesn't wobble or fall over or have to be nailed into the turf. There was a very beautiful one in St James's Park in the 18th century. And it's the sort of place where you might have found somebody like Joseph Addison writing his contributions to the Spectator.
Like
He
Joseph
wrote
Addison.
contributions to
His
the
mother.
Spectator. He might have been sitting there.
Sorry, what was it?
It's a
Trellis.
trellis, Dick.
Trellis. Got to do them somewhere. Frank, your turn.
A Theridion is an inhabitant, or was an inhabitant, of the Greek island of Theridios. Beyond that, information is a bit scarce. It was in a couple of centuries BC, and they were musical and were they believed that they ate lupins. Not to the exclusion of everything else, but they did eat lupins.
Okay.
Next, please, quickly.
Derek Jacobi.
The Theridion is a non-conformist variety of Corsican spider. Whereas your average spider spins a web of almost perfect symmetry, the Theridion's web is very noticeably lopsided. Now, nobody knows quite why this is.
Including you.
No, but it may be that the Theridion doesn't understand geometry, or maybe much more likely, in the balmy heat of a hot Mediterranean climate, it just couldn't care less.
So it's a member of a sect from that part of the world Frank spoke of. It's a Corsican spider, and it's an ornamental trellis. June Bolton is choosing.
A very difficult choice, I must say.
Stands out.
I don't quite believe Joanna's definition of the trellis. And now we come to Frank.
Yes.
I'm not quite sure about the inhabitant either, because the word does not look anything like it. But I think I'll go for Derek's definition.
The Corsican spider,
That's right.
of which he spoke. He now tells you whether it's true or bluff.
Looking a little bit happy now.
Don't think Patrick thought you got it right there, but you had. Lovely bullseye. It is that spider. 3-2, and we have Dacre and June. It's your turn again.
Dacre. It's a very old word. It's the measure of quantity of animal hides which are about to be made into gloves. And 1 dacre is the equivalent to, I should say, a bundle of 10 of such hides. And around about 1753, the selling price of dacres in Edinburgh, would you believe it or not, was about 8 pence each.
Round about 1753. That's as good a date as any. Patrick, speak on.
Dacre is a kind of West Country word, really. Not in current use too much. Because if you say, I'm going to dip your dacres, I can't do a kind of West Country accent at all, really.
Have a try. Everyone else does. Come on.
Do a little bit of Dublin if you want it, sir.
Oh, I love it. Love it.
If you're going to dip your dacre, you're an Irishman in West Country. It means I'm going to give you a belt over the gob.
That's Irish.
Or on the other hand, if you wish to say, tip us your dacre, that means shake hands. It does need an Irishman in the West Country, certainly, to make this, well, sound convincing.
So it's something to do with the hands, yes, yes. So, now, Richard Briers.
Well, now, a daka, the correct pronunciation, is, in fact, in eastern Malaysia in the old days, was actually a robber who was usually violent and carried sometimes a horsehair noose, which he often hung his victims. Get a laugh out of that. That's a daka.
We've had them rolling in the aisles with diseases of sheep. Don't worry. Well, anyway, it's sort of a fist. It's a sort of foot pad, and it's a measure of hides, Joanna.
I'm a bit suspicious, June, of the exact dating of the 8-penny packet of datas, the animal bundles. I'm also a bit suspicious
I don't know why. Why?
of the Malayan robber who, just for fun, brought his own string with him. I wouldn't have thought he'd have bothered to murder them as well. I'm in the same... It's difficult to understand,
Admittedly.
but I think it's Patrick's hand.
You think it was the Dubliner taking a holiday in Shropshire, was it? No, West Country. True or bluff?
So do I. No, it's dreadful.
I blinded you with science there, all right. Who gave the true definition of Dacre?
It's
Quick! You have it. Yes.
Oh, no.
Lo and behold.
Beautifully done.
Very old-fashioned measure of hides. 3 all. A very close game indeed. Glomeral. And Frank Muir defines glomeral.
Isn't she in King Lear? No, she can't be, because it's actually a kind of glutinous jelly found in fish flesh, notably fish of the salmon family. When warmed, this transparent jelly becomes opaque, i.e. visible. You can't see it, you see, until you warm it up. And it's a bit like that sort of greasy wax you see hanging around the scales of salmon. Glomeril.
Derek, your turn.
It's actually pronounced glomeral. And it's a very onomatopoeic word because it is, in fact, exactly what it sounds like, glomeral. It's a very beautiful word. It's a folksy, poetic name for twilight, particularly evening twilight after sunset. It occurs in a very reasonably unknown poem by a Jacobean poet called Richard Coverdale. Soon now doth glomeral spread her frowning shade, wherein the yearning mavis sounds her lay.
Oh, it's a mother-in-law.
It's a very beautiful word for twilight.
How do you speak London?
Oh, lovely.
Reasonably unknown, I think, is the phrase for that. Joanna.
Once upon a time, the undergraduates of Cambridge University were divided into 2 categories, scholars and glomerals. Now, the only difference, or the main difference between them, is that scholars came from public schools and glomerals came from grammar schools. Scholars and glomerals.
Really?
So, it's a kind of Cambridge undergraduate, grammar school undergraduate at Cambridge, fish jelly and twilight. Patrick.
You could search 1,000 salmon for a touch of greasy wax. I promise you.
May I correct you on that?
Folksy poetic, God, it turns the stomach. But there are tinies and... It's a fishy wax.
The fishy wax, which you seem so scornful to begin with, that Frank, you spoke of it.
But
Now he
bluff,
tells you, true or bluff.
Well done, Frank. Yeah.
You're quite right, Patrick. I mean, that it wasn't there. You shouldn't have chosen it because who's got the true one? Here it comes.
Yes.
I have.
Ah, you have. It's a poor undergraduate at Cambridge coming from a grammar school. So we have Escrod next, and Patrick.
The escrod was the curved shield that went around the front of a Roman chariot in order to prevent the charioteer getting run over by Ben-Hur or pierced by a barbarian spear. Escrod.
Okay. Who comes next? Yes, Richard Briers.
Ah, escrod, yes, well, it's something rather nasty, in a way, rather nasty. It's a disciplinary tribunal comprising of the Knights of the Most Honourable Order of St. John of Jerusalem. If you've got on the wrong side of them, it could be very nasty.
That's you don't care to adorn it, no, why should you? Straight from the shoulder. June, your turn.
Escrod. Escrod is very tasty, actually. It's a fishy dish.
Another.
Another fishy dish. It's very easily digested. It contains of one small cod, which has been freshly caught and very gently steamed, and it's really delicious.
Okay, well, it's a single deliciously steamed cod. It's a shield in front of a chariot, and it's a tribunal of the Knights of St. John. Frank?
Don't ask me. Our majority vote, this one. Fish. Disciplinary committee, escort. It sounds like it, doesn't it? There's another word, isn't there? Like
Escrow.
yes, that's right. Yes.
Not that that's either helps or hinders.
We think we're being rused into thinking that it's that because it's so like escrow. Chariot shield, noted Bluff, but is it true this time? No, we think it's the fish. We think it's the fish.
You think it was the steamed cod of which June Bolton
Because
spoke?
it says
True
cod
or
in the
bluff?
word.
Here she comes. She tells you nothing. My goodness, we can have another one if we're very, very quick. So the next one is congee. And Derek, very quickly.
Congee is the water that rice has been boiled in. You can use it as starch or as a medicine.
Lovely. Joanna?
A congee is a Malayan engagement party where the bride and groom of an arranged marriage meet for the first time.
Great. Frank?
Eastern ladies' cosmetic.
Just what one might have supposed. It's an Eastern ladies' cosmetic. It's a Malayan engagement party, and it's water in which rice has been boiled. Yes, Richard, you have to make a choice.
Oh, dear. Yes, have a little chat. You have a chat, and I'll just stay here embarrassed. I rather fancy the congee. I'm not going to choose it. But congee is sort of a bit Chinese, isn't it, with the rice and all that? Congee? Congee? They'll have a congee on shrimp.
Yeah,
You like that?
you carry on your own.
You're the governor, I mean.
No, you're in charge, yeah.
I'll have a go at the rice, sir.
You'll have the rice, will you? The rice
number
water
42.
already. That was Derek Jacobi. Were you telling the truth?
Couldn't be.
But in a way that makes it worse because you've only lost by one. I mean, losing by two is kind of distinctness about that. Anyway, 5-4. It's quite clear that Frank's team has won. So we propose to recondition a few more words from the Oxford English Dictionary next week if we are spared. Until then, goodbye from Derek Jacobi, Richard Briers, Joanna Lumley, June Bolton, Frank Muir, Patrick Campbell, and goodbye.
Fingers on buzzers, entertainment awaits with BBC iPlayer's Game Shows collection.